Hi, I'm David Price with Penn State's Rock Ethics Institute, and we are here virtually in order to actually recognize and honor Penn State's 2020 Stand-Up Award winners. These are 4 Penn State undergraduate students who have demonstrated the courage to stand behind a cause, idea, or belief as they exhibit ethical leadership on campus and in the community. This academic year, it was different. We started 2019-2020 with Old Main encased in scaffolding and shrouded in black cloth as the historic building underwent a restoration project. And then when classes resumed after winter break, news of a novel coronavirus began sweeping the globe, culminating with spring break marking the end of in-person classes. Now, we normally have a banquet to honor our winners around the time of the blue-white game, but here in 2020, we couldn't have a get-together to have a banquet. In 2019, the Penn State College of the Liberal Arts got a new dean, Clarence Lang, and he was to be the keynote speaker at our banquet. But no banquet, no Dean Lang as keynote speaker. However, he is joining us right now. Clarence, it is good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing as well as can be expected. Good to see you too, David. Thanks for having me.
It is truly a pleasure and a privilege to have you. Now, what does honoring students with an award like the Stand-Up Award mean for Penn State and the College of the Liberal Arts?
So I think the idea is to really think about how we give visibility to students who are, in my view, applying liberal arts values in the real world in terms of creativity, innovation, collective care, and empathy for others, and really thinking about how we're expanding the mission of the college beyond the classroom walls, and recognizing the work that our students are doing to promote those values and goals and principles. Certainly at a moment like this, where I think we are more than ever in need of encouraging, promoting, cultivating, fostering students who are prepared to give service to the public alongside of developing themselves for multiple and diverse career pathways and trajectories.
These are 4 very strong students, 4 very strong people. Their college careers were, of course, blindsided by the coronavirus. Now, knowing their strength of leadership as exemplified by receiving the Stand-Up Award, and knowing that their college careers were a little bit derailed, what advice would you give to them as they wrap up their college careers?
Yeah, let me start by saying this. I mean, I suppose one way to look at what's occurred here is that their undergraduate careers have been derailed. And there's truth to that. I also think that this moment provides a very unique opportunity for our liberal arts students to think about collectively and individually the kind of world and society that ought to exist, and putting aside of what they think is possible, really stretching their imagination to consider how our democracy, how our healthcare system, how our ideas of a social safety net and a social contract more generally ought to function. I think is in some ways is an on-the-job learning experience for liberal arts majors. So I want to say that first, that I see that there's a very unique historical opportunity here, notwithstanding the very real challenges and difficulties of the moment. Now, in terms of advice, I suppose I would say 2 things. I would say, one, to my earlier point, use this as an opportunity to think about, to be able to, in that grand, I think, liberal arts tradition, imagine what ought to exist, even if it doesn't quite exist yet, one, and perhaps more practically, because we have to give our students some practical guidance and advice, think about the ways that you can develop your skill sets, develop your insights, develop your networking skills and opportunities to position you for the next phase of your lives and careers. And keeping in mind that this is a moment that I hope will pass at some point, and that the goal ought to be to think about how we are building for the next period. When I am confident opportunities will return, I have to be confident. Otherwise, how do we get up in the morning? And I think that that's, again, consistent with what we do as liberal arts. We think about three-dimensionally. We think about how we prepare our students to think and act critically and with discernment. And this idea of preparation, hopefully meeting opportunity at some point soon, is one that I remain confident about.
Clarence Lang, Dean of Penn State's College of the Liberal Arts, thank you so much for joining us. It is fabulous to see you.
Same here, David. Thanks so much. It's good to be seen. So long.
We have 4 stand-up award winners this year, and we'll be chatting with all of them. First up is Genevieve Miller, Penn State student representative to the State College Borough Council and a recent graduate of the College of the Liberal Arts in Political Science and African Studies. She was cruising right along, heading off for a little bit of spring break before the push to graduation at the end of the semester.
I came home and I was really excited. I had a bunch of borough events that I was planning and things that have never been done before. And I was really excited. And I went through all the bureaucratic paperwork for this one moment, and then COVID happened. And I was really disappointed. I wasn't really sad that I would never see my friends again, because I don't believe that. The people that I met at Penn State, I don't think just will come to an abrupt end. Those are friendships that I'm going to keep for the rest of my life. I'm more sad that, I don't know, I couldn't finish what I started. That was kind of the hardest part for me, because I worked really hard. This is probably the best professional year I've had in my entire life. And so I was really excited about all these things that I had planned, and they just didn't happen. So I didn't do it for the fame and the picture in front of Old Main and the throwing the hat. I did it for a much bigger reason than that.
Now, you were nominated for the Stand-Up Award by Professor Alicia Decker, with whom you had an African Studies class. How do you think that class impacted the way that you view leadership and ethical leadership?
From an critical thinking standpoint, her assignments were the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life. Those papers were so hard, and she was such a strict grader. Even if I would be the nicest to her that week, knowing that a paper was due, and she'd still be such a hard grader. But it made me really have to critically think about every single reading that she gave us. And through her lessons, when you just learn about all these movements that happen throughout the continent and how they just persevered and they kept going. And I think it just taught me that. It just taught me that no matter what, even when people say that things are absolutely crazy and that you should stop talking and that you should stop demanding things, no, keep doing that, keep demanding things, keep pushing, don't stop talking. So that's really what my ethical leadership is. My ethical leadership is not to really lead anyone. My goal is not to lead anyone. My goal is to encourage you to want to do that on your own. So I think that is what her class taught me.
What does today's Genevieve say to that Genevieve girl in high school who was thinking about coming to Penn State?
So when I was in high school, I didn't even have Penn State on my radar. I just knew I didn't want to stay in New Jersey. So I just basically typed in schools around me, and I found Penn State. And then I found the campus of Altoona, and I immediately fell in love, and I visited 2-3 times, and then I applied and got in. So I am a 2+2 student from Penn State Altoona, and I transferred to University Park my junior year. And initially I started college, assuming that I was going to be a doctor. And through joining a bunch of different things, I realized that that wasn't for me. And so I think I would just tell my past self to kind of stay involved. And that's, yeah, and I think that's how I did well.
And that passion was part of what got you here with the stand-up award. Now, were you really fully aware of the stand-up award and what it meant and how it connected to the university?
No, I had no idea. I was really just, doing a bunch of stuff. And my professor noticed.
You mentioned doing stuff. The stuff got the attention of your nominator, Professor Decker. What was it that you were doing that got her to nominate you?
So when I transferred my junior year, I met another transfer student that went to Penn State Harrisburg, and we became best friends. She's still my best friend to this day. And we both had dinner one night together, and she goes, "Hi, this crazy person came up to me in the hub and said to join UPWA, like the student government here." And I was like, "We have a student government?" And she goes, "Yeah, just fill out the application, Robert." And again, we had 10 minutes to fill out the application. So both her and I, we just submitted an application for an open position that they had. And eventually, I didn't actually get the position, but after that, I was like, I'm gonna run next year to be part of it. And so I did that and I won. And then after that, we had something called internal elections where you basically, the inner leaders get kind of elected. And so I guess that's what internal election means. And I ran for this position called borough liaison, which essentially was the student representative on the borough council. And I had absolutely no idea anything about it, just the description sounded really cool. And so I ran against this person that had so much experience in borough, and I actually beat him. And so I got elected to that the end of last year of my junior year, and I've been doing it since. And so I think that's what the stuff I was talking about. And then through borough, I worked on a lot of initiatives that I was really passionate about.
Congratulations, Genevieve. We are so glad to have named you one of our 2020 Stand-Up Award winners. I want to bring in our Associate Director of the Rock Ethics Institute right now, Hyde Forsyth. Aaron was one of the members of the Stand-Up Award Selection Committee, and I'd like to get a sense of the selection process and what it was like to choose the winners out of all of the nominations that we get. Aaron, it is great to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Well, it's hard for us at the Rock Ethics Institute to actually choose these folks because the pool of folks is really amazing. We had the largest pool of undergraduates ever be nominated for the Stand-Up Award this year. And these undergraduates come from across the university. Nearly, at every sort of part of the university, we have folks be nominated for this amazing award. So how the process pretty much goes is that a student is nominated by somebody else who really testifies to their ethical leadership and their activism on campus. After looking at these really extraordinary applications, we selected a group of finalists. We interviewed these finalists and selected our 4 stand-up award winners this year. So I'm really happy to talk to one of them, Priya Hosengadi, who is one of our award winners this year. She is a graduating senior in Human Development and Family Studies in the College of HHD. And I'm really excited to talk to you today, Priya.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so thanks so much for joining me. Congratulations on winning this award. It's really, really well deserved. And I have to say, it was a real pleasure to talk to you earlier, a couple months ago, about your activism and about your ethical leadership. So as I said, you are a graduating senior. Congratulations. This is an interesting time to emerge into the world. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, are you ready to graduate? How do you feel about making a big life transition right now?
It's definitely not what I was expecting. I think if you had asked me before the pandemic, I was pretty ready to graduate, but now it feels pretty scary to be making this transition at this time.
So I want to take you back to being in high school. When you were in high school, did you ever see yourself in a position of being a recognized ethical leader on Penn State's campus?
I don't think so. When I was in high school, I was a really strong advocate for a lot of different causes, but I don't think I ever thought I'd be getting this award for ethical leadership and talking about sexual violence. I think, when I came to Penn State, I had the privilege of not really knowing a lot about sexual violence. And so I always kind of like tuned out conversations around the topic because I just thought that it would never pertain to me. But I really realized that assumption was wrong to make, because the reality is that this affects every corner of Penn State's campus, and it's not just something that some people have to listen to and some people don't.
Can you talk a little bit about why is sexual violence not talked about and invisible to a lot of us at Penn State?
Yeah, I think the reality is that it is an uncomfortable topic, and it is something that people have a hard time talking about. But I think that being so uncomfortable and being unwilling to talk about it is one of the reasons that it continues to be such an issue at Penn State, because unless we have honest conversations about it, I don't really think we can ever work towards like tackling the issue. And so even though I know that there are some people who just can't talk about it for a variety of reasons, I think one of the reasons that it continues to be kind of this hidden secret or, is because people are so scared to talk or even think about it.
So it is a scary topic to actually discuss and talk about, but how did you find sort of the courage to make the issue visible?
For me, I think even though it's really scary to push people to talk about this, or to kind of handle when people say stereotypes or just not correct statements, I think it's still important to listen and to really push towards making it a conversation on campus.
So what have you done on campus to make it more of a conversation?
So one of the things I did with my friend Erin, was we created the Gender Equity Task Force in Shire Honors College. And so the main mission of this task force was basically just to get the conversation started about sexual violence in Shire and also at Penn State, and to better educate people in the Shire community about bystander intervention and just knowing about ways to keep them and themselves safe and step into potentially unsafe situations. And we focused on the Shire community because, one, Erin and I are both part of that community, so it makes sense to focus on that area. But also I think it's a part of Penn State that is often recognized for its academic excellence and leadership, and that is very much true, but sometimes the topic of sexual violence is therefore not talked about because people think they're somehow immune from the issue. And Erin and I just wanted to bring awareness to the fact that it is an issue that affects everyone at Penn State, and so everyone needs to have conversations about it.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. Your work is really, really inspiring to all of us, and I can't think of a sort of more deserving person to actually win the stand-up award. So thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
And it was a real pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to move over back to you, David.
Thank you very much, Erin. Erin Hyde Forsyth will be back with us in just a little bit, but right now I want to introduce you to Divine Lipscomb. Divine is a rehabilitation and human services major looking forward to a future with Penn State Law. He's also the Special Projects Coordinator for the Restorative Justice Initiative in Penn State's College of Education. Divine, thank you very much for being here. We'll talk about your role with the Restorative Justice Initiative in just a minute, but I want to check in about how the events around COVID-19 have affected your Penn State experience.
Oh, wow. It's been an adjustment. I am best learner. My best learning experience is in person. So I had to adjust to taking classes online. Surprisingly, my grades did not drop. It's more of handling the children and their adjustments as well as my own. So it's been rough, but we're making it.
In looking at the nomination letter for the stand-up award, and I've talked with you and some of the folks at the College of Education, it seems like there could be a whole stack of stand-up award nomination letters for Divine Lipscomb, and that's got to make you feel good. It has been really great getting to know you and the people who know you. What do you think it is about your brand of ethical leadership that has been so well received and made you so successful in your peer group?
Well, my brand of ethical leadership revolves around restorative justice. A lot of people take that brand or that restorative justice as a focus for victim and offender, whereas here at Penn State, um, under the tutelage of Director Ephraim Marimon, um, we look at it from a holistic standpoint, where everyone at some point is a victim in the systems of racial injustice, economic instability. And so, how do we make everyone whole? And what is our responsibility, not only as a higher education institution, but as a community at large to all members of society? And so, coming from my particular background and being at Penn State and meshing those two worlds together, it makes it easier for people to understand um, why it's important and the need for it.
You mentioned your particular background. Your particular background was tough. Would you tell me a little bit about that, if you would?
Oh, definitely. So I entered the criminal justice system at 14. Uh, I was reinstitutionalized into a drug program at 15, and I reoffended at the age of 16. So essentially, I spent most of my teen years in some form of institution. I was released from prison at the age of 20, where I then struggled with substance use disorder. So it has taken me quite some time to find my footing. Today, I sit 6.5 years clean. Um, with an associate's degree already under my belt, I came to Penn State with my associates in business. I've always been trying to find a way to move my family into a different direction, always being met with challenges of employment or dealing with those traumas of being incarcerated at such a young age without much help from those same systems that encouraged me to lace myself up by the bootstraps and, I can do it. All of these things are available to you. And the reality is, once someone enters into the system without community resources, without family resources, without dealing with those traumas, re-entering society is just not as easy as it seems. And even recently, the Department of Justice issued a report where they mentioned within the first 9 years of a person being home, they will reoffend. And today I sit 16.5 years home.
That is an amazing story. There has to be internal strength, something that pushes you to break out. Where did that come from? What was that? Because it's not easy.
I I like challenge. So tell me what I can't do, and then I'll do it. Um, and that's pretty much how my life has been set up. Um, the more I've been told that I would never be at Penn State, I would never work for Penn State. And the more people have challenged me to just accept something less than what I wanted, the more I strive to go forward, to prove individuals wrong, to prove that I have the ability to do so. My particular offense halted my application for a little bit upon applying to Penn State. And so those challenges, those barriers that are meant to break people, I use them as a catalyst to move forward and to open up doors.
So the stand-up award acknowledges ethical leadership. Did you know about the stand-up award? Did you have any idea that you would be in line for something like this?
No, sir. I'm still reeling at the fact that I have this award, and that I was acknowledged for ethical leadership. Um, it's quite an honor. Um, I don't feel like I've done anything spectacular to earn this award, but I've settled into the fact that the work that I do is important, and so I accept that.
Divine, congratulations. Thank you very much for being with us. And we wish we could say congratulations in person, give you a big hug, but we'll have to give you a virtual hug and catch up with you some other time.
I appreciate that, David. Thank you.
Thanks. A little bit earlier in our video, Priya Hosengadi mentioned another student and stand-up award winner, Erin Brown, in her interview. And we're going to bring back our associate director here at the Rock Ethics Institute, Erin Hyde Forsyth, and ask her to introduce us to Erin Brown.
Yeah, I'm really pleased today to talk to Erin Brown, who is one of our stand-up award winners. Erin, alongside Priya, did some really amazing work this year with the Gender Equity Task Force. And we at the Rock Ethics Institute really felt like Erin herself deserved her own award for her activism and the work she's done on campus. So Erin, just to introduce you a little bit, you are a junior, a rising senior. You're a communication arts and sciences major and also a women's gender and sexuality studies major. And I'm really glad to be talking to you today about your ethical leadership and some of your activism on campus.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So I want to take you back first to being in high school. Did you ever imagine or see yourself in the position of winning a major award for ethical leadership in college?
No, not in high school. My leadership in high school, I guess I was the drum major of my marching band. It's like always my fun fact when I introduce myself. But in terms of like ethical leadership, I mean, I started kind of developing like these feminist ideas. I used to write like feminist op-eds in my high school newspaper. And then my senior year was the year of the 2016 election. And that's when I really became more interested, I think, in gender issues. And I attended the Women's March. And so I started developing more of a, I'd say, activist mindset, but definitely had no vision that this would end up happening in college.
Penn State has a lot of different activities, a lot of different student groups, but I want to ask why you're particularly interested in sexual violence.
I became involved in sexual violence activism at Penn State because at the beginning of my sophomore year, I was sexually assaulted. Did not expect that to happen. It was a really traumatic experience. And after I had time to process everything that had happened, I realized that there were a lot of other college students who had experienced the same thing I had experienced. I kind of became connected in this like underground network, I would say, or this very quiet, you hear other stories of things happening to other people. And I realized that in my community, the Schreyer Honors College, this was not a one-off issue. This was happening to other students. And the way students and administrators were responding was not okay. I think we have this assumption that sexual violence happens in Greek life and in fraternities, but it happens in athletics, it happens in the honors community, and it happens across a wide range of student groups.
Why do you think this issue is so invisible to a lot of people?
I mean, if you look at the statistics from the 2015 climate survey, 27% of Penn State women have experienced a sexual assault, but of that number, less than 10% are actually reported. And reporting isn't always, the right choice for everyone, but I think those numbers show that students are afraid of speaking out and talking about this issue because there's intimidation and fear that you will be socially ostracized and isolated from institutions of power on Penn State's campus.
How did you use your power to make this issue visible to the community?
I think specifically what I did is I connected with Priya, and I connected with other students who had an interest in addressing sexual violence on college campuses. And then I started meeting with administrators. I met with people in student affairs, the Gender Equity Center. I met with administrators in the Honors College. And I encouraged them to take action and create a plan of how can we better educate students about consent, about sexual violence on campus, about how to support survivors of sexual violence. I helped organize a town hall. We're currently working on programming for incoming freshmen.
We're talking about the Stand Up Awards and this big university-wide award for ethical leadership among undergraduates. And I think you've nicely illustrated that working and being an ethical leader on campus can be a lot of hard work, and a lot of hard work that doesn't always get recognized. So I'd like to ask you about why you think you got nominated for the Stand Up Award.
I think mentors of mine saw that I had taken a really kind of horrible and traumatic experience, and I had taken what I had learned and what I recognized and thought about how I can use my story and my grit to make a better change in the community, and that I was resilient and I was willing to persevere and I wasn't going to give up, and I was able to connect with students.
So I'll first ask, what was it like to know that not only had you been nominated, but among the very large group of nominees that we received for this year's award, you were a finalist? How did it feel to be a finalist for this award?
I was really surprised and scared and happy. I was a little nervous, but I just remember feeling like validated that what I was doing was really important, and that an amazing group of Penn State professors and leaders had recognized that, and it was really exciting.
Well, that sounds amazing. I just want to offer my congratulations on behalf of the entire Rock Ethics staff and faculty. Congratulations for winning this award. It is so well deserved, and we're all very excited to see where your activism and your leadership takes you in the years ahead.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Erin. I really appreciate it. So Erin is one of many stand-up award winners that we've had that really demonstrate sort of the best of our community here. So with that, I'll send this back over to David. And thanks so much, David, for letting me talk to all these wonderful stand-up award winners.
Erin, thank you so very much. And so there you have it, the Rock Ethics Institute Stand-Up Award winners for 2020. Priya Hosengatti, Genevieve Miller, Divine Lipscomb, and Erin Brown. The Stand-Up Awards recognize Penn State undergraduate students who have demonstrated the courage to stand behind a cause, idea, or belief as they exhibit ethical leadership on campus and in the community. Any campus, any major, any semester standing, and any member of the community can nominate someone. If you know of a Penn State undergrad that deserves to be nominated, just go to standuppsu.com and let us know. The annual deadline for nomination falls in mid to late January, depending on the academic calendar. Congratulations to our 2020 winners. On behalf of Penn State's Rock Ethics Institute, I'm David Price. Thank you for joining us.